Hi everyone, welcome to Academic Show. Today we are going to solve a numerical from friction chapter of classical mechanics part of physics. Okay, so this is going to be a very short video. So I'm not going to introduce myself. Let's without dragging it further. Let's just directly jump into this question. Okay, so fine. What is it saying? It is saying that a block of mass is a block of mass 10 kg. So this is the first information we got in terms of the numerical expression. Okay, rests on a rough inclined plane. Rests on a rough inclined plane. So rough inclined plane is also sorry. Yes. So rough inclined plane is also an important information. Okay, I'll tell you why. Making an angle of 37 degrees. So the angle is 37 degrees. Okay, let me simultaneously let me note it down. Okay, so the mass we can denote it with m. Usually we denote mass with small m. So small m equals to 10 kg. Okay, what else we have? We have it is an inclined plane. So that I will draw later on. But the next where it is telling that the angle is 37. So let me denote it with theta. Okay, theta equals to 37 degree. Okay. So theta is 37 degree. Now it is telling that with horizontal plane. Okay. In previous video also I have explained what is the difference between vertical and horizontal. But in case you are visiting this channel for the first time, you don't have any idea, or you are a small child, you don't have any idea of what is horizontal, what is vertical, then let me just demonstrate it. Let me just explain what is horizontal. This is these are two axes. This x-axis for suppose this is x-axis and this is y-axis. This x-axis is considered horizontal, okay? And this y-axis is considered vertical one, the vertical one. In real life example, we see many skyscrapers or pillars. Those are basically standing vertically, right? So those are vertical, example of vertical elements. And what is horizontal? The opposite one. So the floor on which the pillar is standing, or the pillar is standing, that is basically the horizontal one. So the floor is horizontal, and the pillar is considered vertical. Okay. So I think you already know what is right. Let's not drag it further. Okay, so let's move on to the next sentence. What it is saying? It is saying that the coefficient of static friction, the coefficient of static friction between. So, uh, in case you don't know, let me tell you that the coefficient of static friction is denoted by mu. The coefficient of static friction is denoted by mu. Mu is a variable, but usually we denote static friction with the variable mu. Okay, small. Sorry, the mu. Now the value of mu is given. What it is telling that between the coefficient of static friction between the block and the plane is 0.5. So it is basically 0.5. So we have the value of mu, we have the value of theta, the angle, and the mass of the block. Okay. So these are the informations we already have. I've noted it down. Now it is telling that determine whether the block will slide down the incline. Incline means the inclined plane, the inclined surface. Okay. So after noting down everything, this is basically hard and fast rule of solving a classical mechanics. I have already told you in the previous video also that it is the hard and fast rule of solving a classical mechanics related problem. You must draw the free body diagram. Without drawing the free body diagram, even Einstein or Newton cannot solve complicated problems. Okay, this is impossible. This is impossible. Even Newton or Einstein or Richard Feynman, nobody can solve a complicated classical mechanics related problem without drawing a free body diagram. So it is must. So move on to the next part. It is so it already mentioned that the angle 37 is with the horizontal, right? The inclined plane is inclined on a 37-degree angle with the horizontal. So I'll draw the horizontal plane first. I'll draw the horizontal plane first. So this is the horizontal plane. Okay. Now this is the inclined surface. Okay. So this is roughly around 30 degrees. So it is quite perfect. So it has mentioned that the value of theta, the value of theta is 37 degree, right? The value of theta is 37 degree. Now, it is the horizontal surface. I don't have anything to mention here. Okay. Now it is a block. Block. Block means it will be rectangular picture. Sorry. Pardon me. So, fine. So let me draw the block first. This is the block. This is the block. And this has a mass of basically what? A mass of what? How much? 10 kg. A mass of 10 kg. Okay. Now the theta, value of theta, the angle of inclination, or the angle at which the plane is inclined to the horizontal surface is 37 degree, right? So I've already mentioned that. Now, the value of mu is 0.5. Now, just tell me, okay? Just tell me, pause. So, after I ask, then you pause and you try to answer, okay? Then you'll play and verify whether you have answered it correctly or not, okay? Just tell me in which direction the weight of the block will be acting. In which direction the weight of the block will be acting. Pause here. Okay. So I don't know if whether you have paused it or not, or you have tried to answer it or not. But okay, let me move further. Okay. So the basically the weight will be acting along this direction. You may say why the block is on a or the block is placed on an inclined plane, right? But let me tell you that the horizontal surface is on the surface of Earth, right? This is the surface of Earth. This is Earth surface. Okay. So it is quite obvious that the gravitational pull or the gravitational force will be acting along the radius of the Earth, right? Along the radius of the Earth towards the center of the Earth, right? Isn't it? So this is the surface of the Earth. So it will be acting perpendicular to the surface of the Earth or the horizontal plane. It will be perpendicular to the horizontal surface, perpendicular to the horizontal surface. Okay, so it is at 90 degree. Let me assume it is 90 degree, it is 37 degree, it is theta. So this angle will be how much? This angle will be how much? This angle will be basically 90 minus theta, right? This is theta, this is 90. The total sum of the angles of a triangle is 180 degree. So 180 degree minus 90 degree minus theta is equal to 90 degree minus theta. This is 90 degree minus theta. Now, a component of the weight will be acting along the north perpendicular to the inclined plane, and this is basically the normal force. What is normal force? Suppose a block is placed on my hand. This okay. The normal force will be acting exactly perpendicular to my hand, to the surface on which the block is placed. To the surface on which the block is placed. So this is in case of inclined plane, the direction of n will not be perpendicular to the horizontal, but in case of inclined plane, the direction of normal force will be along the perpendicular to the inclined plane, right? Along the perpendicular direction of the inclined plane. So it will be basically, so as this angle is 90 minus theta, we have already seen this theta, this is 90, so this will be 90 theta 90 minus theta. So this is quite obvious. This total angle is 90 degrees. This is also perpendicular. N is perpendicular to the inclined plane. So this will be 90 minus theta, and this will be theta. This will be quite obvious. This will be theta. So this will be theta. So if this is mg, the weight is mg, then this will be mg cos theta, isn't it? This will be mg cos theta. Now there will be another component. There will be another component which will be acting along the inclined plane, direction of inclined plane, along the direction on which the block will tend to move. The block will tend to slide down. The block will tend to move or tend to slide down across the direction of the inclined plane. Okay, downwards. So this will be across the direction of the inclined plane downwards. That will be mg sine theta. That will be mg sine theta. What it will be? It will be mg sine theta. Now, what is friction? Suppose there is no friction. This is frictionless. Then, if you know, according to the basic law of classical mechanics by Newton, Newtonian law of classical mechanics, according to second law of classical mechanics by Newton, if you try to push or if you apply a force on an object, if you apply force on an object in a certain direction, if there is no resistance, if there is zero resistance, the object will keep moving along the applied force direction of applied force for till eternity. Till eternity, it will never stop unless and until there is a resistance. Unless and until there is a resistance. So, in practical case, there will be at least some amount of resistance or some amount of force acting opposite in the opposite direction. Now, in this case, once when a block is sliding, trying to slide down a rough inclined surface, there will be a frictional force. We denote it by small f along the opposite direction of mg sine theta, which will be upwards, which will be mg. Sorry, what it will be, I'll discuss later. Okay, let me just denote it with that we will discuss later. Okay, now let's just we have already drawn the I had a Bengali session also, but in between I had to talk to someone. So okay, fine, never mind. So now now let me start calculating. We have mass of the block, which is 10, and we have theta. Now we can measure the weight of the block first. Okay, weight of the block. Weight of the block, which is basically mg. Mg equals to how much? Mg equals to 10 kg into times g. The value of g, how much is the value of g? Exactly, the g is basically, small g is basically the acceleration due to gravitational pull or the acceleration due to gravitational force. So that is basically, in Bengali we say, oh sorry, the Bengali is not required although. So let's not bother with that. So being Bengali, I tend to talk about the Bengali terminologies. So the value in general, the value of G is 9.8 or 9.81. Let me just write 9.81. Okay? 9.81 meter per second square. Meter per second square. And in some cases, we approximately take it as we assume it as 10 meter per second square. But in this case, I'll make it. I'll assume it 9.8 meter per second square. There's no approximation. Fine. As we don't have any options here, it is not MCQ question. So we are not solving an MCQ question. So the more accurately you derive, that will be better. So this is 98, 9.8 into 10, this kg. So the unit will be kg meter per second square, kg meter per second square. So which translates to basically Newton. Kg meter per second square is basically Newton. Newton. This is the this is the unit of force, right? So the mg equals to 98 Newton. We have already derived it. Fine, fine, absolutely fine. Now, let me find out other variables also, right? Like mg, we can find out mg cos theta. Okay, let me find out normal force. Normal force is normal force equals to m equals to mg cos theta. Okay, equals to mg cos theta. Fine. So mg is 98 Newton into cos. How much? The value of theta is 37 degrees. Okay. So let me open the calculation. You can also open the calculator if you want to. Because without calculator you cannot find the angle, the cos or sin theta value of when the angle is something like so absurd, like 37 degree, 35. 35 is also not that absurd, but 37 degree, 39 degree, or something like that. Okay, so this is 37 degree. Now I find value of cos first. Okay, so this is cos, the value of cos 37 degrees 0.79863, something like that. Now directly multiply it with 98. Multiply it with 98. The value will be 78.26. So roughly it is 78 Newton. Okay, fine. Now I'll also find out the other component, which is mg sin theta. mg sin theta. I forgot to tell you one important thing. I will tell you after calculating this. Okay. So 98 into sine 37 degree. Okay. So what is the value of this? Okay. 37. 37. Trigonometry sine. Okay. The value of sine 37 degrees is basically 0.6018, something like that, and multiplied with what? 98. So that will be for 58.97. So approximately we can write 59 degree, 59 Newton. Okay. So mg sine theta is basically 59 Newton. Okay. And mg cos theta is equal to 78 Newton. Right. Now, I forgot to tell one thing, that is, just watch this diagram and tell me what will be the maximum frictional force. What will the maximum value of frictional force? What is the now imagine what is the function of friction? The function of friction is to resist the movement of the block, right? Resist the movement of the block. So as long as it can resist the movement of the block is static or the block is motionless, the friction is acting, right? Also, or the friction, obviously the friction is acting, but friction, we can say that there is a scope of improvement. Maybe it can get higher, but once the block starts to move downwards, that means what? That means the friction has failed to keep it motionless or keep it static, right? The friction, obviously, the frictional force is less than the opposite force, that is the force which is acting in the opposite direction, mg sine theta. This is quite obvious. When the frictional force F is less than or equal to mg sine theta, the block will be static, right? And when it is greater, sorry, the frictional force is greater than equal to this force, then as long as this is greater than equal to this force, then the block will be static or dynamic. Yes, static or motionless. And when it exceeds the value of the value of mg sin theta exceeds the value of frictional force, it will start to move downwards, right? So we can write, as long as mg sin theta is is less than equal to frictional force F, the block will be static or motionless, motionless. But when, but when, but when, when the block, but when the block is, sorry. But when, let me write the expression first. Uh, but when mg sine theta is greater than frictional force F, then the block will start to slide down or move. The block will start to slide down or move. Now we have to find out whether mg sine theta is greater than frictional force or not. Now to find out that we already found out the we have already evaluated the value of mg sine theta. We have already evaluated the value of mg sine theta. Now we can evaluate the value of frictional force. So value of frictional force, the value of frictional force, small f equals to basically how much? So sorry, we have to write the maximum. We have to determine the maximum frictional force. So the maximum value of maximum frictional force, have written it wrong. So it's greater. It must be greater than maximum value of frictional force. This is quite obvious. The frictional force cannot get greater than that. Once it starts moving, it has already failed. So frictional force, the maximum value of frictional force, what it is basically, let me tell you now. Now you try to remember it, memorize it. Later on, when we study about the theoretical part, we will explain how it is derived. Okay, why we are writing this. Okay, so mu times normal force n, mu times normal force n. So coefficient of friction times normal force. So we already have mu value of mu 0.5 into Newton. Sorry, normal force. The value of mu. What is the value of normal force? The value of normal force N is equal to basically 78 Newton. So this is 78 Newton. I have already written 78 Newton. 78 Newton times for half is equal to 39 Newton. So value of maximum frictional force F max is equal to basically 39 Newton. Okay. So this is okay. Fine. Now, the final part. It is almost done. Almost done. Bear with me. Okay. So this is almost done. The final part is finding out the finding out whether the value of mg sine theta is greater, less, or or greater, less, or equal to frictional force. Okay. So the value of mg sine theta we have already evaluated 59 degree. So let me write down it is 59 degree. Now max frictional force equals, sorry, mg sine theta is 59 Newton. Okay. And maximum frictional force is equal to 39 Newton. Right? Now we can easily by seeing. Okay. This is even if you provide this to a 5-year-old kid, 5 years old kid, he will also tell you that obviously 59 is greater than 39. Obviously 59 is greater than 39. So we can tell that mg sine theta. The mathematics part is done. Now we have to compare. Okay, mg sine theta is greater than f max. So what we can say? We can conclude? We can conclude that we can conclude. We can conclude that what the block will slide down the inclined surface. So this is the solution. We have determined whether it will slide down or it will be motionless. So as value of mg sine theta is greater than frictional force, the maximum frictional force, this is quite obvious that the block, so the force acting in this direction towards the downward direction along the inclined surface, mg sine theta is greater than the force acting in the opposite direction, the resistance or the frictional force. So this product is the block loop striker. So this is it. This was the total concept of this normal numerical. I hope you understood, and I'll suggest you once once you have already completed one derivation has been already solved. One equation has been already derived. One equation has been already evaluated. One value of one variable has been evaluated. You just press the pause button. You just press the pause button, and you try to note it down. You try to note it down in your copy notebook. After solving that, then only you proceed, and again press the play button, and again move on with the next equation. Okay, fine. So all the best, and this was it. And like other videos also, I'll again tell you. I'll keep repeating same thing, which is you try to, if you like it, in case you like it, you find it helpful, then you share with your friends and your with your I don't know how much is your age. You can share with your friends, your colleagues, or your family members, or your cousins, or your whatever. Share with them and like. Don't forget to like, and don't forget to press the subscribe button. Please press the subscribe button, and also don't forget to press the bell icon. That is also important. People usually watch the video. If they like, they sometimes press on the like button. If they watch multiple videos, then they press on the subscribe button. But they usually don't press the bell button. But it is also important. If you press the bell button, it helps you. In case you don't know, it helps you to get the notifications in the future. Once I upload, once I or there is another teacher also in this academy. So once they upload any video, you'll be intimated. You'll get notifications for that. Okay. So best of luck and all the best. Okay. Fine.